Fam, what's up? Welcome back to the CEO Post Podcast, where you get the real, the raw, and the mind of entrepreneurship. Another great episode of the Mindset Monday podcast with my co-host, and now 1 year older, very, very good friend, sitting right next to me, Justin Thorstad. Happy birthday, bro.
Thank you, man.
Happy birthday. 42 years young.
Yep.
Nice.
John.
Just before we hopped on or we clicked record on this, we were talking about how old you feel and like you're getting wrinkles in places that you didn't know you could get wrinkles.
No, that's not what we talked about.
Oh, it's not?
No,
I'm sorry.
Joe, edit that shit.
Okay. But happy birthday.
Yeah,
bro.
thank you.
Happy birthday, fam. Let's talk about a really important topic, right? Like, what are we going through as a mindset transition? We're moving from a side hustle, like something that we start, kind of throw spaghetti on the wall. Usually, entrepreneurs begin this way, right? I have a lot of students that go, from a 9 to 5 to full-time status in real estate or wholesaling, but entrepreneurship in general kind of works that way, right? So what's the mindset? What do we go through as we're trying to figure out when to take the leap? Like, when is the right time to go from side hustle to full time? I think that's a very, very subjective question, right? It's hard to say 3 months into it, 6 months into it.
Yeah.
I think it's more of a matter of understanding yourself, knowing yourself, and being aware of where you were at in life in general, not just in that one particular space. So let's open it up.
Yeah. Well, I think nobody can say at what time point. I think it's more of a matter of when you decide. You know what I mean? Like, if you think about it, decision. If you take the word decide, the root word is side, decide, right?
Yeah.
And it means to kill off. Think about it. Suicide, homicide, genocide, pesticide. It's to kill off. And so a decision then means that you've killed off all other potential outcomes, options, right? Like, it can only be this. Now, the question then is, how long does it take to decide a thing, right? Like, that could take years. You may never decide. And choosing not to decide, like, should I, shouldn't I, get in, get out, staying in the fog like that is a decision. I'm deciding to not decide. So when you decide a thing, it may have taken some time to get to that threshold where you're willing to, but when you decide a thing, like, it's a done deal.
Yeah.
And so I think the reason people don't decide to just go all in is because they reference their past experiences that didn't work out. They think about, well, I got this mortgage payment, the car payment, and my family's depending upon me, da-da-da-da-da. And it's like, yeah, okay, that's all true. However, how's that working out?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if you decide a thing and you went all in, like, this is the frustrating thing with entrepreneurs, and I know you know because you coach them too. It's like, okay, if you don't get all in and you continue as a side hustle, like, what if you were to take those 8 hours you're at your job and you lead generate and you just bring business in? Like, how many entrepreneurs do you know that lead generate for 8 hours a day? Like, maybe a fraction of 1%.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They want to do all the other stuff to feel busy. But that's busyness, not business. Because if you don't have revenue, like, you don't have sales coming in, like, you don't have a business.
Yeah, I think, well, we got into the nuts and bolts of things real quick. And I think you're making a very, very important point here. It's the sensation or the feeling of staying on top of something or being busy that usually fulfills people as opposed to the real results, right?
That matter, yeah.
So looking at, and then you have the type of people who are very objective, very bottom line driven. They have their goal set on this one thing, and they may be oblivious to everything else. I'm talking relationships, systems, social awareness, all kinds of stuff. Yet they're fucking crushing it because they're focused on this one thing that matters, and they're making that work. And I know, like, going through the process of me becoming an entrepreneur, understanding more of myself, more of the business, I would always see people along the way. It was like, man, this guy's, he's doing really, really good, but I can run circles around this. Like, what's the key denominator? Like, what's making the difference there? And a lot of it was that, the fact that I was still, I had one leg on the entrepreneur world and then one leg on the I'm not committed yet,
Yeah.
Type of space.
Yeah.
So I love the explanation that you decide. You always come up with like really really cool stuff like that, which I love. And it does makes a lot of sense when you see it that way, right? You're getting rid of everything else, all the other noise that's around you that's making you stop and not take action on the stuff that really matters. Yeah. So when do we jump from that side hustle to that full-time space? I think it really comes down to understanding that whatever gets the first few results in alignment, what got you there is not going to get you that rest of the way, right?
Totally. Well, and I think before someone decides to get all in and on the side hustle and like let go of the job, the just over broke, like be sure, this is so critical. I think people overlook it. Be sure that the thing that you're doing, the action of doing it in and of itself, you derive happiness from. Yeah. Like it's the fulfillment, just the process. Because most people start a side hustle for money. Yeah. And then they want to blow it up into a business because of all the money they could make. And you know what? Like, that's not wrong and it's not bad. And you can be successful. But long-term sustainability to really grow and scale can only come from a passion. Like, otherwise, it's just another job. And then what? Yeah. What job have you had for a long period of time that you're like, oh my God, I can't wait to go to work tomorrow? You know what I mean? So when you can turn your work into play and your obligations into opportunities, oh man, like the whole world opens up. You know what I mean? Like when I started my brokerage, that was a massive pay cut. I mean, like massive, 75% pay cut. Like not many people can take that kind of pay cut, and expenses went up 300%. That's a big gap. However, I was done doing what I was doing because I was only doing that for money and to be a provider and do all these things. And I hated getting up in the morning. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I had it pretty caked too. I mean, I wasn't working that much, but I had to, and I didn't like it. So what if you were to go play all day, called your business, and like it lit you up? Just the process of showing up in and of itself. Yeah. Like you wanted to get out of bed in the morning. You wanted to go make a difference. Like that's really, really important.
A couple of things happen, right? When we're in that space, I think like we go longer, so we don't get as tired. Why? Because we're excited about everything that's going on. At least that's the case that's how I operate. I can go on for, not that I want to go on for 10, 14 hours every single day or whatnot, but I do get lost in the stuff that I'm doing because I'm excited. I'm playing. Yeah. It's a playful endeavor, right, for me to come in and then put together things. It's funny enough. One of the things that I was talking to part of my team right now. We're going over a bunch of deals and working on the dispo process, and we started talking about the projects that I have with a couple of partnerships in play and whatnot. And it was like, yeah, we moved quick. We're building a lot of things. What happens as an entrepreneur and when you decide to take that leap is that a lot of opportunity is going to open up. Why? Because you're more receptive to it. 100%. When you're seeing things without the lens of fear, right? To filter things out.
Or distort it. Yeah.
Distort it. Yeah, exactly. Distorted, I think, is the right word. To distort things, I mean, the opportunity is just, it's that much brighter, right? Like you see it, it's almost hard to not recognize. Yeah. So what happens, we got like, in my case, we got excited. We started putting together a lot of pieces and creating a lot of things and building a lot of things that, okay, cool, this is a great idea. This is a great idea. And I'm talking about the last 6 months. And then what happens, there's a lot of front loading. I mean, there's a lot of risk that goes into it, right? For example, 100%. You took a massive pay cut with 300% increase in overhead. Like shit. I mean, do the math. Like I'm gonna be like you're living out of living out of a car and may not even be a running car. It's and the risk is that. I mean, I remember doing that when I launched my first business too. So that mental gap is between success or whatever you have that you feel it's a security blanket, and then that notion or that dream of success can be wide, right? And almost difficult to see ourselves taking that leap and making it over to that other side. But when you do, things start to get traction, and then I think the pendulum soon enough switches from front loading all that work and then trying to build and slap pieces together and being confused because you don't know what to do next, to putting a lot of energy into keeping that machine running. So it's kind of like, the analogy I used was like you're trying to stay on top of the bull at at that point, right? Because things pick up traction. There's deals that start coming your way. There's different things that because of the motion that you took or the activity that you created early on, now you're keeping it all together. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I think at this point there's still a lot of confusion going on, but the space of it is it's almost coming from empowerment as opposed to a sense of like shit. I don't know what I'm gonna eat in the morning.
Totally. Well, yeah. Here's another way I could say it. Yeah, I agree 100%. It's like when you're starting out, like you've got all kinds of problems. How do I get business? How do I maintain it? How do I produce? Like how do I deliver? All these kinds of things. And it's like those are problems every entrepreneur faces. But there's two types of entrepreneurs. Ones that are always reacting to putting out problems, like putting out fires and solving problems. Then there's the other ones that create problems in their imagination they get to go solve. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like too much business. I want to work on that. I want to solve that problem. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
How do I handle it and still deliver quality and all of that kind of stuff? Like that's exciting when you initiate to go solve something versus you got to react to it. Yeah. It's a different version of you showing up. And the thing about it is like, when you love what you're doing so much so that the process in and of itself is where you get your happiness and you are fulfilled, like a different version of you shows up to the party, right? Like when it's work and it's obligation, responsibility, that's just a grind. And like that's not sustainable long term. So when you like showing up and you get fulfillment from that, like you're more conscious, you're present, you're objective, you see things for as they are instead of through that fear lens of what could go wrong. And because like, I don't care what business someone's in, there's somebody else doing it too. And if they're successful, you can be successful, but you may have a different strategy. Like there's not just one way to do a thing. There's infinite ways, mathematically speaking. And so you could agree then the strategy is not what's going to cause you to win. Rather, the version of you showing up to the strategy means everything in the world. Again, you got an attitude of fear of what's going to go wrong, and that's all you can focus on. That's a low level of you showing up.
Yeah.
Versus someone that's excited and they're creating problems in their imagination they get to go solve. Man, that's someone that's connected, present, excited. That's a high vibration.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like everything, it comes down to just three things: vibration, energy, and frequency. So what is your energy, frequency, and vibration when you're showing up?
Yeah.
And if you don't like doing what you're doing it just for money, that's just not going to work long term.
Yeah. I mean, I think it really comes down to waking up in the morning and then saying, if you're thinking like, crap, I got to go work again. I mean, that's a red flag.
It's a red flag.
It may not be like super heavy that you feel miserable.
Yeah,
yet.
Subtle. Yet.
But it's a red flag, right?
Yeah.
You know when I see it the most is when I'm coming back from like a great like a week vacation and whatnot and I kind of don't want that to end, but I'm excited to get back to work too.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, cool.
Feeling.
That's a good space. You know what I mean? It's like, all right, cool, man. I wish I could stay, a little longer here or, extend this or whatever. But I'm excited to go back to work. It's not that I have to go back to work. It's just like, there's stuff happening that I'm excited about. So it's okay, cool. Let's go back into it.
Well, that's the difference between people that like need a vacation from their life, they need a break, versus people that take a vacation just to have new experiences and connect and see different scenery and new experiences. But it's not required. It's more of an accented celebration to your life.
I've seen, and I don't know if this might be a little bit off topic, but it's this hit me a long time ago, right? We can take moments of respite or resets. I call them resets. If you have a weekend trip, I mean, I just came back from a weekend trip. We took a Baja road with one of my best friends. Shout out to Bobby. But we took this trip down Baja. So we off-roaded. We did a total of almost 400 miles, just going up and down and all that stuff. Really cool. Super tired on the way out and whatnot, but I was excited to get back to Monday, because Monday is like I get to be back in it, right? So it's a gift. And it's a moment of respite. It's a moment of reset, and then just kind of decompressing ideas and all that stuff. Then what happens is like things start flowing back in there. But I don't see it as a way to escape the daily, right? I see it as that's something extra that I get to do.
Yeah,
right.
totally.
That it's really cool. I can go over there and then just hit the mental reset button and then come right back into my space, which is
totally.
Yeah.
Well, it's like when you focus on a thing for too long, like it serves you to just stop for a minute, take a step back, and do something else.
Yeah.
Because that time in between that you then come back to that thing you've been working on, man, your objective, you see it from a different angle and the solution presents itself. Yeah. So those resets are totally necessary to reset your mind and bring in some new information and come back at the situation with a fresh perspective.
So absolutely, man. And as far as like, when do you take the leap? I think sometimes, the tendency is to want to be very pragmatic about it. No, I'm going to do this for 3 months. And then after 3 months, I'm going to leave the 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Or I'm not going to do this until I have this, and that, and I'm ready for it. And I feel like I'm secure. Or
I have this much money in the bank from it or something.
Yeah, exactly. And unfortunately, like sometimes, actually most times, like those arbitrary goals don't necessarily come. You know what I mean?
They're lies.
Because I don't know. Take a 9 to 5, for example. Somebody who's expecting to leave, and I'm using a live case scenario here, but somebody who's expecting to leave their 9 to 5 when they get $30,000 together. And then they're gonna do this whole thing and go full time. In the meantime, they're side hustling it. You're going through the roller coaster. They're not systemizing. They're not growing themselves.
They're not running a business.
Yeah, exactly. So they're doing all these things, just kind of throwing spaghetti in the wall, until they get to this number. 30. Why? Because I'm gonna feel safe. For starters, an amount like that is not a big amount. It's gonna go out the window really quick. So it's not even about having that that full-time leap fully funded, because it's not gonna happen. There's so many things that are gonna hit you. You have to understand how to work with yourself as you go through the process.
Bingo.
So that's one. The second one is the insecurity that we're enough to do something like that, right? To take the leap, to really commit to it, as opposed to just have this chip on our shoulder, like, I'm side hustling, something else. I'm working extra. I'm going the extra mile. Like, are we really? If we don't commit, are we? Like,
how
are
long
you
been
really
doing
betting
that
on
side
yourself?
hustle? You know what I mean? Like, and it's still not successful. Like, it's not because of it. It's because of you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You cause it to be so.
The factor is like the you factor.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny too, because people say, well, when I have X amount of money in the bank account, then I'll be okay. And then I'll go for it. It's like, no, you won't. Because then when you get that amount of money, if you even do, you'll find another reason why it's not safe yet.
Yeah.
And then, money's the funny one too, right? Because, Coach Al, a long time ago, because I felt the same way. Like, I used to identify with that. When I have X amount of dollars in the bank account, I'll be safe and secure.
Yeah.
And he's like, really? It's because the money's not the security. Who created it? It's a currency, right?
Yeah.
And so if I created the money that's in the bank account, I'm the security. I'm the creator of it, not the money, because it can be wiped out. You put it on the table to fund your business. There might be something that you couldn't account for, an X factor in the marketplace, whatever, the economy, that just killed something, and all that money's gone in an instant. Now what? You're insecure? No. If I created that, I can create it again and then some with what I know now, right? Like, everyone's like, well, I wish I knew then what I know now. If I could just go back in time. What are you talking about? Every second is a new time that you can take that information and apply it, implement it, and grow, and create more. Like, how beautiful is that?
Yeah.
So you're the security, not the external thing.
Yeah, I mean, it can be a very subjective thing, right? When do I take the leap? When do I go from side hustle to full time? I see, and I've seen this over and over again too. Like, people going, wearing themselves out on a 9 to 5, doing the something that a normal person, quote unquote normal, would do, right, for 40 years, and 9 to 5, and then go the extra mile, an hour or two or maybe 3 after work and do their own thing. But, take that as the norm, as a perpetual thing that needs to be done all the time. So they're exhausted from work, and then they're not fully committed to growing this other side. And it's almost like, to me, man, it's like living in limbo. And I get it. We have to see it as what it is, and what it is it's a transitionary phase. If you have two things going on, I feel, unless you're thriving and super joyful in both, and you have, you were talking about vibration, you were talking about energy earlier, all of that stuff is in alignment, then yeah, I mean, you can have at it, right? Most of the time, though, if you're looking or you're looking to go the full, to full time and into entrepreneurship, is because there's a void in that first section of it.
Totally.
By default.
By
right?
default. That's why you got the side hustle.
Exactly. That's why you got the side hustle.
Yeah.
So, think about that kind of stuff. To me, and I don't recommend people doing it the way I did. I mean,
Sure.
Shoot first, aim later, type of stuff.
Yeah, fire, ready, aim, baby.
Yeah. And I mean, that's kind of been my MO. So it gets me, to some places really fast, and it's been really good. And then sometimes it just,
shit show.
It becomes a shit show. It crashed against the wall, and then
it's a lot of fun though.
I just got to put all my pieces together, like, body parts and whatnot.
Yeah, but you learn a lot.
Messy. Yeah,
trial and error is not the best teacher.
Exactly.
But
I've never lost. But it's you can be methodical about transitioning out into this full-time space, right? But commit to it. I think that's the biggest thing. Like, whether or not you are going to commit, like, you have to start. We have to stop thinking in terms of, someday I'm going to do it. Like, no, if it's a deadline, like, what are you going to need for that deadline? And then set yourself some, minimum criteria, and it's stuff that makes sense. It's not going to be attached to finances. Why? Because the second you get rid of that thing that's giving you the finances, if you don't have the strength as an entrepreneur to keep going, without getting hit on the money part, because your expenses, like you were saying earlier, like, your expenses go up, your income goes down, you're gonna freak out, you're gonna want to go back to that 9 to 5. So it's not about money, it's not about having that bank account to this particular point that, okay, now I can go full time. It's not about that. It's about the you in you. It's about who you are as an entrepreneur and whether or not you can hack it, right? Going through it. How have you grown through the process of playing, both worlds? And are you visiting at any time you're hitting your side hustle and you just want to get the fuck out as soon as you can? If that's the case, don't jump in full time.
No,
you're going to crash and burn.
Yeah.
But if you get excited, and if you're thinking in your 9 to 5 about, man, it's almost time for me to hit that, that afternoon streak where I get to do my thing.
Yeah.
Right? Where I get to play in my own space, when I get to create my own world, my own, it's my bubble. It's my ball of wax. I can shape it however I want, right? If you're excited about that, that's going to get you to a whole nother level.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and also, like, surrounding yourself with other successful entrepreneurs. And I mean, that's a big one, because, as you said, as soon as you make that leap, man, be prepared, because you might get your teeth kicked in real fast.
Yeah.
And then what do? Do you throw in the towel? Do you quit? That's failure to me. But if you get back up and you keep going no matter what, because you've decided a thing and, like, you're committed, and commitment is, like, whatever it takes. The funny thing is, like, when you show up with that state of being, that essence, that you're willing to do whatever it takes, most times you don't have to. You don't have to go to that extreme. But if you're willing and you bring that version of you forward, that's when things start to unfold. Like, I think, when's the right time to make the leap, as you said, yeah? So, like, you got to realize those people that jump off cliffs, cliff jumping and so forth, the parachute doesn't open until you jump. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, I'm going to open my chute just in case. No, you jump, and then you open the parachute, and it works. Yeah. It does its job. And that's kind of the same essence, if you will, just to give an analogy, of, like, you got to be willing to take that leap before the solutions present themselves, before the success can come. And, people say, oh, man, I don't know if I have the stomach for that kind of risk. Yes, you do. Because if you're working a 9 to 5 and you think you're going to retire from that, that's risky. What if you're cut at your 28 before your pension? If it do those even exist besides, like, public servant type jobs? Police, fire, things like that. Like, what job is going to protect you and that's not a risk that you could be let go at any moment in time due to an economic downturn, whatever, and they got to cut the workforce because that's their biggest expense. Where is your guarantee that you're not in that lump sum of layoffs and so forth? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a risk to do that. And besides, unless you're crushing it with your job, you're probably just over broke.
We get complacent, man, with a very, very weak false sense of security.
It's like living in a gated community. Oh, I'm safe from crime. No, it's just a gate. Like criminals, what are you talking about? Yeah,
and like it's usually got like a 1.5 foot opening at the bottom of it.
Yeah, like if someone's going to come steal your car, they don't like.
When I was in high
drive
school, I could probably walk through it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like 1.6 foot.
You think about it. If someone's going to drive into your community, drop off their car to take yours, no, they're walking on foot to steal your car so they can drive away with it. You know, it's a false sense of security.
It is.
And it's kind of sad, actually, to see people and the level of lies that they tell themselves about why something can't work or why they can't go after their dreams. And that really, truly makes me sad, man, because it's like, who's not capable? We all have the same faculties. What are you doing with them? Are you exercising them?
Yeah.
Are you taking them out to play and getting new experiences and like living life fully?
Yeah.
I think that's just it. Like, so many people are tiptoeing through life just to arrive at death like safely. And it's like you're not making it out of this thing alive.
Yeah.
So what do you want to do in this time that you have? Because you don't know if you got the rest of today. Seriously.
Yeah, let alone 3 years for your projections.
And so that's something that supports me living fully. Is like, Justin, you're gonna die. There'll just be a moment in time when you're not here. That's inevitable. It's what we all share.
Yeah.
We were born and we're gonna die. Like, we don't talk about it because it's scary, but is it like, because when you could accept that, now you can express yourself and live fully.
Yeah.
And if you're all in, fully in, committed, decided a thing, that's a powerful force. So what's it going to take for you to get there?
Yeah. It's, you bring up a very, very important point, I think. And that's, there's no guarantees in life, right? Like life's not a guarantee.
Yeah.
Period. And there's some moments where just life flashes, in front of your eyes, and then you start to regret things, to think about things that you could have done, you should have done. Another thing, man, that gets me, often is just seeing people fade into old age. And I mean fade, like get lost into that because they had dreams, and I've had plenty of one of my favorite things in life is really to pick conversations. I like just instigating conversations and just kind of picking brains and finding perspective, and I love doing it with people who are just a lot older than we are, right? And
a lot of experience.
And I've had conversations with people in their 60s. And they feel broken. They feel like they lost 40 years, 50 years of their life doing stuff that wasn't meaningful or that didn't really gave them life.
Mm-hmm.
On the opposite side of that token, man, I had a really, really good Saturday night, having conversations with a guy, or it's actually a couple guys. There's this team. They're dirt bike racers. They're the Ancianos MC. Ancianos means old, just elderly. So Elderly Motorcycle Club. They're out of Tecate, Baja California. But these guys are, they're all based in San Diego, right? Like they have their regular jobs and everything. The crazy and cool thing is that they're all like 55 and over.
Nice.
These guys are jumping, hills, off-road, dirt biking, and like they have the energy of, like, they have youth, man. You know what I mean?
Vitality.
Yeah, vitality. Yeah. And they have that kind of, they have their, and this is me as I was having conversations with a few of them. We ended up staying in this one place through this Baja trip, right? And it's really cool, hostel style. It's like for riders, they come in, they spend the night, and then they continue on the next day. So you get to meet a lot of people. So we were doing the same thing. We made it in. It's in the middle of nowhere. and we're having convos with just all kinds of people that are a couple of groups that came in and they're all writing. So you have different experiences and different takes on life, and when you're just kind of vibing, right?
Yeah.
And the whole night, man, I was just like impressed. Like these guys are on it, like they're full of life. They're laughing. Tomorrow they're gonna pick up their dirt bikes and then head into South Baja, with a hurricane on the way in, mind you not. Like these guys are just they're
living.
Crazy. Yeah, they're living it. They're crazy, but in a really good, energetic way. And it goes to show, right? Like some of them were entrepreneurs, some of them had 9-to-5s, but what they all had was awareness. They had an awareness of who they were. They had an awareness of what they wanted to do, what made them happy, what brought joy to their, to their face. And they were in there. Like the age was not a factor. If you feel like you're past the curve, like you're not. As long as you have that vitality, as long as you have that will in you and that energy to want to do something, go for it, right? Like we don't have a rewind button here.
No. Well, and you're never too young. You're never too old. It's just that moment when you choose, right?
Yeah.
Like, because what you're talking about is so great. I mean, I love seeing, if we want to say older, people that have more numbers in their, how old they are, those years. But because what's sad is, like you were talking about that 60-year-old, like the lights are on, but nobody's really home.
Yeah,
like they checked out so long ago, and the minute their heart stops beating will be a formality because they've already died.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Because they're not living.
Yeah.
And that's just something that I refuse to give myself. Like, I will live completely because that's what we're here to do, is experience. Yeah. And it's sad to see people like that when they've checked out.
Well, I mean, I think it is, especially when the dream is to do something, right? And for whatever reason, whether it be fear, it be insecurities, it be a sense of, unworthiness, whatever that is. But there's something halting that progress, halting that vision from becoming true, and helping that person move along the dream. Like that's really what breaks me. When somebody's is getting old, and it doesn't matter. Like being on a 9-to-5 it's not even a factor if you enjoy that. Yeah. Right, so it's not like we're bashing the non-entrepreneurs. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. What triggers or like makes me just gets a reaction out of me. It's not really triggered, but gets a reaction out of me is when I know somebody has the will, the desire, the dream is alive, and they want to do something, and they're not happy in that space that they're in, yet they won't move forward because of whatever stupid reason you want to bring up.
It may not trigger you, but it does me.
Yeah,
because I'm like, listen, you're capable, and you want it, but you're scared. That's okay. That's acceptable. Like nobody said you had to be fearless. That's not even a thing, right?
Yeah.
Courage is being scared and doing it anyways. But if you're not willing to move forward and you say you want it and you're complaining about why you can't, in my opinion, like you've lost your right to bitch because that's all you're doing. You know what I mean? Like you quit today. Oh, I can't do that. Why not?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it really bothers me. It's like you're full of shit and you're complaining about something that you have complete control over.
Yeah,
you can just decide and go move forward now.
It starts with awareness. We've said it a million times. It's about knowing yourself, understanding who you are at your core, right? And then think about it. Like a lot of people want to be entrepreneurs, but maybe the process can be tough. Maybe they don't want to commit that much. Yet they want to belong to something bigger than them. I mean, it's okay. Like you have a lot of people who are intrapreneurs, right? And they do their own thing within an organization. Somehow, some way, they're still betting on themselves. They're as they're going through this process, and they're linked to something that's empowering them through the process, and that's fine, right? Like so figure out who you are, and I think if you're asking yourself the question of when is it time to jump in, but you don't have that fire in your belly that keeps wanting to, makes you keep desiring to take the leap, it may be a red flag, right? Maybe something is in there for a reason.
Yeah. So and I'll say also, like, if you're wondering like when's the right time to jump all in from the side hustle to the full time, like another red flag is if you're doing it because you're chasing the money like don't even get started.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it just everything you chase tends to elude you. And so if you instead
Just
reframe
know that if that's the reason why you do it, it's going to be an entryway. That's all it is. It's gonna have to evolve and you will transition out of that eventually.
Well, hopefully, because some people just get stuck, and then
don't.
the life cycle of their business starts to decay. And it's like, if you're serving humanity and you found a way to monetize that, you got something. If you like just have a business for the sake of taking money, like that's going to be tough, and eventually, to continue to grow, you're going to have to give it a heart. You're going to have to give it a purpose. And, you know, real quick, like the vision statement, your mission statement, your core values, that's not just a box you check. Like that is so fundamentally critical and vital to your success, because that sets up the energetic tone of you, the leader, and your vibe is attracting your tribe. So if you want quality people that see your vision and you're going to go serve humanity in a big way, you better have that clear, because it's going to broadcast your frequency, and you can only get in return what's on that. So if it's 100%. To take and get money, that's going to be hard.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, there's no I think like no evergreen formula as to when do I take the leap, when do I jump, when do I transition from part-time to full-time. It's one of those things that you're going to be growing into. And you get to a point where you say enough is enough, right? I'm tired of and I see, you know, thankfully I see that quite a bit with my students as well, where they start on a 9 to 5, and you know, mind you not, like a lot of these, you know, the people have careers, right? They're cops or firefighters or, you know, attorneys. I mean, and eventually you know, I'm going to leave that side of things just because the joy is not there, and I'm going to go into this that gives me more freedom, gives me more peace, and it really draws me, as opposed to me trying to, you know, push this wagon full of rocks,
it's completely
all over the
energy.
place. Yeah. So it is a completely different energy. But figure out, I mean, have the awareness of who you are. What kind of life do you want to live, right? What kind of impact do you want to have? And I think it's hard to think, you know, 5 years ahead, 10 years ahead. Did you have, like, when was the last time you had like I don't know, like a really good food that you keep going back to? And then it's like, oh man, I have this, like, I'm on this. I remember, like, I was doing pho for a while, and like almost every single day, right? Eventually, like, I got over it,
sure.
Right? So it's the same thing with our sense of purpose. I think, like, we get committed to okay, this is this is the thing that I want to make the impact on, right? But as we grow, that sense of purpose expands.
It's alive. It evolves.
It's alive. It evolves along with us. So maybe the stuff that you're bleeding for right now, you know, is going to transition into something bigger in a space of 5 years. So I like to have a notion of where I'm headed.
Yeah.
But I like to enjoy the journey and understand where I'm at every single step of the way.
So many people miss that half of the equation.
Yeah.
It's not just where I'm going,
but
what's the experience I want to have along the way.
Yeah.
That's the other side of the coin, man. And I think it is just as important as where you're going.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you're going to get, you know, beat up. You're going to get your teeth punched in. Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the throat.
Yep.
But it's also very rewarding, right? If that's the lane that you want to take, just understand there's going to be some, you know, some bumps and bruises along the way. And
yeah, because I mean, everyone wants that instant gratification, right? But if you think about it, the delay between the desire and actually obtaining it, like that builds, and now it's so much sweeter, you know?
Yeah.
So like, and that's what life's all about.
Well, yeah, absolutely, man. And I think it requires entrepreneurship. Requires growth. If we were to do it from one day to the next, I don't think anybody, honestly, I mean, and you know, prove me wrong, I guess, but would be fitted emotionally to deal with the stuff that you get hit as an entrepreneur. You know, where you come in and you have, you know, emotional intelligence. I don't want to say dialed in, but awareness, right? Exactly, regulation, and a lot of these things that come in the, with the space of being an entrepreneur, we have to build up to that level. So the reason you see metered people out there, like they're self-controlled and they're crushing it in business, and they're they have the poise and it's like, man, this person is very savvy. It's because they got beat the fuck up as they were bringing coming up. They were not. They didn't just stand up and started walking like that one day. No. It takes formation, and I think that's what this transition, right? The space of when we go from part-time to full-time can give us some insight to, can give us a preview of what that's going to be like, right?
100%.
Make a choice.
Business is a spiritual game, I always say.
Yeah.
You got to grow you, and you will through the process if you don't quit.
Yeah.
Because, man, everyone's capable.
Yeah.
The question is, am I willing to do whatever it takes?
Yeah.
Because it's going to require that beingness a lot of times, because you are going to get punched and knocked down. And are you going to get back up? Are you going to dust yourself off? And you're going to extract like the gifts in that are lessons that you get to implement and move forward with. Like you're going to grow. And the success is so much sweeter.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Good talk, dude.
Yeah, it was fun.
What do you got going on for your birthday? Say something fun. Come on.
No, my fiance's coming over and making me dinner and hang out. Yeah.
Aww.
I'm kind of.
He's back in town?
Huh?
He's back in town?
Fuck. Such a dick.
Yeah. All right. So
see what I got to put up with?
Why? All right. I love you.
I love you, fucker.
If somebody wants to get a hold of you, what is the best place to reach you?
Yeah, JustinThorstead.com, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, or my phone number, 602-348-8534.
All right, fam. Well, I hope that convo was insightful. It's a two-way street. Again, we always ask, right, for comments and tell us what you're thinking. If there's a topic that you want us to talk about, put it on the show notes. Send us a comment. We'll dive right in. If you want to get a hold of me, best place to find me is in social media at Rafael Cortez CEO. Do us a big favor and subscribe, like, and share to the YouTube channels, the podcast on Spotify. Send it out to somebody you think might benefit from it, right? So this helps. It helps us spread the word. We put a lot of effort into what we're doing here. So anytime we get feedback on that, it's highly appreciated.
Don't forget to check out his Grindr account.
Yeah. I mean, it's popping right now. See what I did there? All right. We're going to get canceled.
That was retaliation, bro.
We're going to get canceled. It only took you like 5 minutes.
I was trying to be polite, but I was like, no, if he ends it and Gio hits stop record, I'm screwed, right? So
yeah, Gio's just like, he's having a blast.
Yeah, he's not even in control of himself
watching
over there
you
right
through
now.
the suffering. Yeah. All right, fam. Love you all. Stay focused. You got this.